Good morning. Oh, well, it actually depends on when you're watching this, but it's the morning for me. And we're doing this live. Welcome back to Front End Live. I am James Wilkinson, your host, a front-end developer with 12 plus years of experience, here to share with you my thought process going through some everyday tasks that you're probably going to do as a front-end developer. Especially if you're senior and you're thinking about how do I advance further in my career without going into management, or if you're an intermediate and you're like, how do I advance to senior? What type of thinking goes on with that? That's what I'm trying to showcase here, but also showing you the real world difficulties and everyday struggles, like a missing semicolon, that you'll find in your code and how long it can take. Up to today, we have installed our coding system on a Mac and on Windows. I'm now working on Windows exclusively. And we have created a sample API where we did a class API. We did a React class, component class structure that communicated to an API, and we did it as well as a functional component. And we displayed it to the page. So let's take a look at what we have here. And we also set up our VS Code. And then so obviously it's a pretty ugly system so far. I am not in the right spot. Give me a second. So our sites folder, we're going to open up our test git with VS Code. This way, when we do terminal, new terminal, you'll see now we're in our folder. So now I can run things like npm start. Actually, let's start here for a second. When you are in these folders, ooh, we've got a lovely error here. Ooh, so when we were doing our linting yesterday, oh, good old package lock. He often causes problems. And it wants us to delete our node modules folder. So we've got an incompatible ESLint going on here. So for when we installed the linting with create React app. So what has happened is that Create React App already has ESLint installed, and we also managed to install ESLint. So we have two versions of ESLint, which we do not want. We know this message is long, but please read the steps and do them. And then in our package JSON, yes, you'll see that we have installed ESLint, which we don't need. We only need the configurations. It is still trying to delete node modules. And I'm going to, I believe it has crashed. So I'm going to do this manually through here. Also, there shouldn't be a node modules folder here. Yeah, so you see node modules got deleted just fine. And let's open this back up in VS Code and run an npm install. Now what I wanted to open up here is to show you these npm runs. So you see here, anywhere you have scripts, anytime you do npm run and then this word, it's going to do these actions. Now you'll see these ones are predefined subscripts. So this is running another script called React scripts, which is hidden inside the Create React App's own package JSON. But this is where you can do things like if you wanted to put in your custom test library to open and run in Internet Explorer, you could do npm test, and so that's your quick hotkey, but then you could put in all of the really long string that you need to do in order to run your test library and provide it the emulator of IE11 and that kind of thing. So all we're doing here is reinstalling our node modules folder. Something I also had noticed that I missed in the last one is that I needed this section here for when I switched to TypeScript, because when I put in the .tsx file, it said that, I can't put JSX in this file type because I didn't tell it that .ts and .tsx are also things that I want to lint and how I want to lint them. So I've just said here, I'm overriding the default ESLint because that's provided by Create React App for the TS and TSX files. For those TS and TSX files, I want you to use the TypeScript ESLint recommended plugin and the TypeScript ESLint recommended and TypeScript ESLint for prettier. And that allowed me to fix a big giant red error that showed up here where I didn't have anything there. So now if I put this back in, we know that this is a problem, right, for Airbnb style guide. So that was my concern with this here. So I'm actually going to delete this. When we change our linting, we should reopen VS Code because it's dynamically trying to read things. And okay, here we go. So now he says, right now we're back to the problem. JSX is not allowed with the extension TSX. So in our ESLint, let's give this a fix here. Create React App ESLint TSX. Nope, that's not what we want. Ooh, this person gets a lot of rules. Airbnb ESLint with TypeScript. There we go. This is what we wanted. So we need to add TypeScript to our project. Sorry, the TypeScript linting to our project. And we can install all of the plugins that we were going to need. Let's make sure that we're not installing ESLint again by accident, because that's what caused our error in the first place. And then I found this cool website called Any API. That says Ant. Any API, which is a bunch of different public APIs that we can play with. So I love GIFs, so I'm going to grab the Giphy API. And we want the GIFs, and we're going to search GIFs. And we're going to search specifically for now. So this is a cool little, what I really like about this is, so remember how in the last one I told you about test cases and they're only as good as the cases. And so, and catching errors, something that you would see between, a junior and intermediate, a senior and above. So a junior might possibly only respond to the 200 and not catch an error. A senior might, or an intermediate might catch all errors. So any of these would all go into the catch all. And a senior and above would likely respond with understanding which each one of these types of errors that can come back are and doing something specific with each of those. So we have this API that we can use. And we're going to search for RuPaul's Drag Race. Our limit maximum was 32 that it said. And the ratings. Ooh, I need an API key. Oh, this will be fun. Okay, so let's go to the Giphy API. Oh, I'm not logged into Facebook, so we can't do that. Oh, login. I think I have a Giphy account. We're about to find out. No, apparently not. I am not a robot. See? Not a robot. Oh, you just told me that I didn't have an account. This is my life. I forgot my password. While we're doing that, let's go back to installing ESLint. So now we want to extend Airbnb Typescript. And let's take a look. Once again, changed our linter. So this should be giving us an error. Because we want this to actually be count. This .state.count should throw an error that we want to use property structuring. So there's something wrong here. We don't have a TypeScript parser right now. Let's take a look. Right, okay, so it is complaining that we don't have a parsers object. So let's go to TypeScript. Create React app TypeScript config. We added our TypeScript, but it didn't give us a TS config. create React app TypeScript tsconfig. Well, this is the same spot we were at. Oh, it says I'll have one made for me. Do I have one? No, I don't. We followed these instructions. Let's just run this again and see if it creates our tsconfig for us. I don't see a tsconfig, mister. It skipped FS events, that's fine. Yeah, and so all I did was update it. So the adding it to a file didn't work so well. Let's make a new project anyways. And we'll do it this way. We'll create a React app with TypeScript. We added Airbnb TypeScript. We need yeah, you want a parser option, but we don't have a tsconfig. I could just get a sample one. We could make it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a React app just so I can get a sample. One. So we're going to go into our, where does this put us? Okay, so here we're going to npx there we go. We're going to npx create React app my app template TypeScript. Meanwhile, let me get my Giphy password so we can use their API. There I am. Ooh, that's my Baby Yoda GIF. I forgot that I made that. I don't even have any of this stuff anymore. Okay, so go back to the Giphy API. Let's get started. Create an app. Yep, that's all we need. I've totally read those API terms. Okay, so now I have an API key. So now obviously I've given this API key to you guys publicly, right? You don't want to do that. What you would normally do is put this into some type of key storage so that you never show this to the public and you don't commit this to your code base. And GitHub actually has a built-in key storage now. So for this library, I can go into, I believe it's settings, deploy keys. Oh, sorry, secrets, secret management. Which you would need an environment for. So let's just say this is our dev environment. Let's add a secret. And then so we'll say Giphy API. And so we would get a production API and we'd put this in here and we would not do it on screen, etc. So now I can access Giphy API. If I had a deployment, I could go in and say, replace this string section with the Giphy API. And it would go ahead and do that for me. But that's on secret management. But all we need there is that. So any API, let's go to our API, let's go to Giphy. Let's go GIFs, search GIFs, try it out, sign in. Here's my API key, authorize, query, RuPaul's Drag Race. Oh, there we go, send request. And here is our data. Then here would be one of our sample GIFs. Yeah, girl. Okay, so we have an API that we can use. Did we get this? Good. So let's open that My App folder. And it made this tsconfig for us. So we're just going to copy this tsconfig file. And, oh, I thought, okie doke. Whoops. And we'll go back to our other example here. And let's paste our file. We now have a tsconfig file. Okay, so what's in here? Compiler options, target to ES5, lib, DOM, DOM iterable, ESNext, allow JS, skip complex. Yeah. JSX, React JSX, yes. Include the source folder. Okay. So we have that, and now our ESLint, we need to tell it to use that project file. With all of that ugliness that it just inserted. Parser options, project, ESLint config. Okay, so now if we go back over to here, there we go. Now it's working again. Must use prop destructuring. Perfect. Okay, good. Now we're using a style guide in our app, etc. Okay, so we now have a local development environment up and running again, running our dev server, and we should be returning information from that other API that we did. Well, we had it for a second. Oh, so you see how that's got that small CR in there? We're having some Windows issues here. we are having trouble with our, we're on Windows and it's, see how that's got that CR, that means carriage return. We don't want it to be a carriage return. Let's take a look at text editor, wrapping. We just want to make sure our VS Code is always using the Unix version. We don't want to be committing Windows hidden carriage return characters. Let me Google the best settings. VS Code on Windows, CRLF. Okay, so let's make sure our can we quick open this into our end of lines? We want /ends. If you set it to global settings, just finally will apply our entire machine. If you just want it set to the project we're working on, we want it for our whole machine. Go through and use the manual method, which is just going on the bottom and switching it, right? So let's take a look. Oh, would you stop complaining about to-dos? Thank you. That is from earlier, so let's just clear this and save this. Okay, so props implicitly has type of any. Let's just tell it that it is any. That fixes that. And title is missing props validation. Title is a string. Oh, that's, I guess, not how I wanted to do that. Is it like this? Oh, this is not a TypeScript. Wait, what? Why are you linting a JSX file with TypeScript? Oh, because it wants prop types, that's why. Right. We're probably going to want to turn off that rule. We're not going to use prop types because we're going to use TypeScript. So let's just rename this file to TypeScript. Save. And now it should be there we go. Now we don't want to use actual any's, but you know. No, that's because we need our interface. on this file as well. Typescript function component. I actually don't know how to do this as a functional component. Okay, so that is the way I thought it was. Function API example props. Okay. And then we use state and we never define it. Ooh, how do we do this for state? That's for props. React function component state with TypeScript. Use the initial value to the right type. How do we type a function component? This seems like a very overcomplicated way. This should be a simple one-line thing. And this wants us to use function component as a That's, I think, what we want there. And that looks correct for what I know about TypeScript. Use state. Right, okay, so use state, and it's inferring that it's a number. And so number, initial state number, or number reactive dispatch. Why on earth was that giving this a never? Okay, so this should be functional API example state. Argument of type never is not assignable to parameter of type functional API state. We don't need to give it an initial value anymore because it has an interface. And so now down here, const to do's, set to do's, use state, functional API example state. Oh, but we've combined our states together. So should we do predefined type scripts for each? Functional component pass it the type of your props. Yeah, we use state. Good. He's not typing his state. He's just using an inferred type. This looks messy. Whoa, hello. Class to function. So this is how to convert. We went over that. Now TypeScript. Typing props with a type alias. Type user listing props title string. Const user list. Functional component user list props title. So, I mean, I did it a different way. Like these are my props, and I said these are of type props. Okay, so let's just rewrite this a little bit to follow. We need to tell TypeScript that we're writing a functional component is what's going on here. So export default. It's a user list, and it's a functional component with this interface. We're going to need the TypeScript import for a functional component. What on earth is going on here? This person skipped over the entire imports. So const functional API example. Clear, but its value is never read. Yes, because. And bring in React's functional component. Okay, so now it's an alias of functional component with this interface. Let's just turn props validation off. Okay, so now we have a, there we go, title string. Title string. Okay, so now let's get our state set up. Typing the use state hook. Oh, okay, so we can just set this to our to-dos interface. That makes sense. That's not what's going on here. What is going on here? Then we can use the type for our users and use state const users set users equals use state. Syntax. There, to-dos interface property. There we go. Now we're back to TypeScript. Okay, let's see if we can get this to lint now. Oh, what is going on here? Oh, app.css. We got a bunch of files that need to be converted is why. Who else is causing problems? Let's open them all up and fix them. Oh, whoops. Oh my lord. Oh, what is going on? I already did that file. Oh, you know what? There's a command to change this entire file using git. Git change files to oh, what in the world is going on here? Yep, we always want our get to be done with. Always use the right file endings. Don't auto-convert. Mm-hmm. All right, we can't push from here. We have to use our get GUI. The joys. Okay, everybody should be using LF now. Nope, it didn't even bloody work. Oh my lord. Oh, this is annoying. This is the problem with developing on Windows, is these stupid line file endings. And I would have avoided all of this if I told you about those Git settings in the first place, but I forgot. So we're just gonna go through and make sure all of these have the right line endings so that we can get LF, 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 good. I mean, this section gets overwritten, I think, so. That's the puppy playing with his squeaky toy. Let's see if we can get this to run yet. I mean, we were going to play with our own API, right? And now we're just fiddly diddling with, okay. Now we just have a problem of I renamed something and, so this is related to the exports I did. Okay, so we exported the class, but we didn't export default. Or did we? Oh, we did export default. So in our app.js, we're using exported name class API example as identifier for default export. No named as default. Okay, so what it wants is me to just wrap this in curly braces. Oh, and then wants an empty line here. Failed to compile. I have made a monster hodgepodge of a mixed TypeScript and React app. So what we're actually going to do is abandon ship because this skeleton is got skeletons in its closet. I started out with so this is a JS file and it's got JSX in it, and you've created these monster pieces of code, and honestly you would probably just have to deal with these and fix these as a developer, but we have the luxury of recreating our app. This gets fixed by telling it that it's JSX, and then what do you mean React's not in? Oh, we didn't import React. Okay, who else has got problems compiling? What on earth are you having a problem with? Not read property replace of undefined occurred while linting. What are you trying to replace? I mean, you should also be like this, by the way. Oh, puppy. I've never seen this error before. Okay, so there's something up with this particular file. So I've screwed that up somehow with Windows. So let's open our My App. Oh, but now we don't have our... Oh man, I feel like we have made a colossal failure out of this stream today. What's wrong, puppy? Come here. Hi. Hey, buddy. Yeah, we're going to abandon ship and try this tomorrow.